Recording in progress.
Thank you. Good evening, students. Good evening, Ms. Kashish. Good evening, Mr. Ram. Yes, welcome to the revisionary classes. So we have discussed certain topics in the previous revisionary classes. Today, we will be discussing on two topics, that is place of supply and time of supply. So that is the topic which is allotted for today. We will be discussing on the place of supply for relevant for the purpose of GST and what is the time of supply. Okay. Um, Before we get into this session, do you have any questions from our previous sessions? So at the end of the class, can you summarize provisions of 12% and 5% of GPA? Okay, sure, we'll do that. Okay, if there's no questions, then we can smoothly proceed with today's session. So we'll be first discussing on place of supply and time of supply. We'll discuss at the after the break. Okay. Now, why place of supply is relevant? We will need to understand that. Before we start, let's start with a very good quote which says that all it takes is just a little change of perspective. Okay. All it takes is just a little change of perspective and you begin to see a whole new world. Okay. So we are fixed to certain perspectives saying that, oh, CA exams is tough. I'm just giving an example for people who generally think so that CA exams is tough. You have to just change the perspective. No, CA exams is not tough. It is just that people don't read it fully. That's why it is tough. So if you just change that simple perspective, right, then you'll see that yes, CA exams is completely easy because it is just that you have to read it. So that is what this quote says, gives us a motivation that you have to just change your perspective. And you don't have to change your perspective completely, saying that full 360-degree change. No, that is not required. Just simple change in your mindset will give you a totally new world. That is what is required. So yes, we have to change our perspective to get into a mode from failure to success. That is very important. If you change the mindset, then your reading, your understanding, your learning, your working out, everything will be fine. And then you are in a better position to understand the topic. Okay, keep this in mind and let's get into the session for today. So, what we learn in this chapter is we will learn why place of supply is important. We will learn what is a B2B and B2C transaction. We all know this, right? What is a B2B and what is a B2C transaction? B2B is business to business. Okay, what does that mean? Yes, that's a full form of B2B. Very right, Ram. What does it mean? So, I am selling from my business to your business. So, is it called as a B2B supply? Others, what is a B2B supply and what is a B2C supply? Reddy, Mr. B. Reddy is saying, yes, sir, if both are doing business, that's a B2B supply. So, Mr. B. Reddy, then in that case, if you're making from one business to another business and that other business is not registered under GST, will it still be a business to business supply then? Because we are reading this from a context of GST. So, from that context, you will have to tell me whether every transaction between one business to another business is a business to B2B transaction or is it something else? Yes, Mr. Ram has given a correct answer that if you No, ready, your understanding is wrong. Business to business means when a registered person makes supply to another registered entity. That is a B2C supply. And B2C means from a person who is registered under GST to a person who is not registered under GST. That is a B2C transaction. So B2B transaction means supply from one registered person to another registered person, and from B for a B2C transaction would mean transfer from a registered person to a unregistered person. That is a B2C transaction. Okay. Why B2B and B2C is relevant is because under the place of supply provisions, there are certain places where B2B is mentioned, there the place of supply will be different, and under B2C transactions, the place of supply will be different. If it is registered, the place of supply sometimes is different, and if it is unregistered, then the place of supply will be different. Okay, so that is the relevance of B2B and B2C transaction. Place of supply of goods other than the goods which is imported or exported from India will be dealt in section 10. Then section 12 will come to the place of supply of services, where the location of the supplier and the location of recipient both are in India. And interstate supply will be dealt in section 7. Intrastate supply is dealt in section 8. All of these provisions, we are talking from the perspective of IGST Act, not from the perspective of CGST Act. Okay. Why? Because in the constitutional amendment, we saw that the provisions to decide what is the place of supply is given to the central government. That's why central government is mentioned that under the IGST Act. Okay. And then supplies in territorial waters, that is given under section 9 of the IGST Act. So we'll go through these sections in this order of 10, 12, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, because from the perspective of relevance, what is relevant is section 10. So we'll understand 10, then 12, and then the other sections. So when the taxes are to be paid correctly, that is in the case of intrastate transactions, we have to pay CGST and SGST. What happens when instead of CGST and SGST, IGST is paid? Ultimately, taxes has been paid, but when it was an intrastate transaction, we know that we have to pay CGST and SGST, but we have not paid CGST and SGST, we have paid IGST. Is it fine? Is it allowable? What do you generally think about it? Lokesh is saying it is not allowed. Okay. I think allowed, and in subsequent filing, it can be amended, sir. Okay. That is one another answer. Others? Is it okay? If you're not answering anything, does it mean that you're fine? That it is definitely fine that you make a transaction which is a B2B supply, which is a interstate supply, and you have instead of paying CGST and SGST in case of an intrastate supply, you paid IGST. So you're saying it's fine with it. I think allowed. Okay, sir. In case intrastate supply, we have to pay CGST and SGST, is what Mr. Lokesh is strongly saying that yes, sir, we cannot pay IGST. In case CGST and SGST is paid, instead of in case IGST is paid instead of payment of CGST and SGST, then there's an issue. What is the issue? The issue is wrong government will get the tax. In case of IGST, it will go to the central government, but it has to go to the state government. So what will happen? The place of supply is relevant. It says that what taxes has to be paid correctly only. If the wrong taxes is being paid, then you have to pay the correct tax again. So in this scenario where IGST happens when instead of CGST and SGST, IGST is paid, then this pay amount is wrongly paid. you have to now pay the CGST and SGST again. So correct taxes will have to be paid again. Okay. However, there is a provision which says that the wrong tax can be claimed as a refund. But see the burden. You have paid the tax, you have to pay the same tax again, right? But under a correct head and then claim a refund of the wrong taxes which has been paid. So it's a very lengthy procedure. So we have to be, that's the reason we have to understand the place of supply provisions correctly so that whatever is the wrong tax is rectified and there is no confusion. So that when you pay the taxes, you're paying the correct head taxes. If you pay the wrong head taxes, you have to pay the correct head tax and claim the refund of the wrong taxes head what you have paid. What does place of supply say? Constitution has powered, as we had discussed, Constitution has empowered the union to make rules, hence only therein IGST. Place of supply is the place where the supply is consumed. Why place of supply is required? Because we know to determine an intrastate transaction, the location of supplier and place of supply is relevant. If the location of supplier and place of supply are in the same state, then it is a intrastate supply. When the location of supplier and place of supply are in two different states, then it is an interstate supply. So to determine the nexus or determine which taxes has to be paid, we have to keep this various scenarios of place of supply handy. If we know the place of supply, then we can know whether it is a interstate supply or an intrastate supply. The place of supply of goods says where the goods move. Okay, where the goods are moving, where it is going on, that is the place of supply. So it is easily identifiable. The goods are moving from Bangalore to Rajasthan, Jaipur, it is moving. So what will be the place of supply? Understood my question? The goods are moving from Bangalore to Rajasthan. What is the place of supply of the goods? Yes, Rajasthan. Because we know GST is a destination based tax. The destination is Rajasthan. So for this supply, the place of supply is Rajasthan. Correct. So it is easy to understand the place of supply in case of goods. Why? Because we know it is tangible and it is identifiable to determine. But in case of place of supply of services, okay, case of place of supply of services, it is so easily understandable. Let me give you an example. I was traveling from Bangalore to Chennai. They are in two different states. Okay, Bangalore is in Karnataka and Chennai is in Tamil Nadu. While I was traveling, there was a co-passenger who was asking me opinion on income tax. Just because I said an income tax professional, I'm a chartered accountant. Everybody will have a notion that yes, as you are a chartered accountant, you know everything about income tax. Even though I may not practice, but generally they will have a notion that okay, he is also having an income tax notion, so I can ask him any income tax question. So they will ask income tax question. Now I know a little bit of income tax, so I will give him an opinion. Now while we were discussing, we were traveling from Bangalore to Andhra Pradesh and then to Tamil Nadu because the train route is like that we have to touch the Andhra Pradesh border and then go to Tamil Nadu. Now when he asked me the opinion, he started his question while we were in Karnataka border. Okay. We were discussing in Telangana's border, and my final opinion I gave when we were in Tamil Nadu border. So, in this scenario, what is the place of supply? Okay. So, you gave me a correct answer for place of supply of goods for movement of goods from Bangalore to Rajasthan. But in this case of place of supply of services, where the journey is onboarded and opinion is started in Karnataka, discussion is in Telangana or Andhra Pradesh, and final conclusion of the opinion is given in Tamil Nadu, what will be the place of supply? Where the services are rendered. Very smart answers, Somesh. So that is the point. Where is the service rendered? Yes, Kashish Bagri is saying Karnataka, Somesh Singh is saying where the service is rendered, Kavya is saying Chennai. Okay, so it is not possible to so easily give an answer because service is intangible, right? We don't know what is the destination. It's possible that the service is taken while on the way itself, or it could be that it is taken in Telangana, or it could be that it could be taken in Tamil Nadu. It will become very, very subjective, right? That is the reason you have more detailed rules for place of supply of services. You will have to decide who is the service provider, who is the receiver. You have to decide where the services may flow, right? Because I may supplying from one state, it may get supplied in multiple states also. And like a auditor providing services, he can provide services to multiple branches, right? And actual place of consumption may vary. That's why the place of supply for services is not very sacrosanct. You will have a multiple deciding factors to decide what is the place of supply for services. Okay. So B2B, as we had discussed, it's a type of transaction where the recipient also is registered, then it's B2B. In case of B2C, the supplier is registered, but the recipient is a consumer as a or an unregistered person, then it is called as a B2C transaction. Now, place of supply for goods is given in section 10.1, which says that where the supply involves movement of goods, then the place of supply is different. Where the goods are delivered on bill to ship to model, then it's different. So various scenarios are there. Now, what does 10.1 say? Where the supply involves movement of goods, the place of supply is the location of the goods at the time when the movement of goods terminates. Terminates means end for delivery to the recipient. Okay. So again, very simple rules for goods is where the good is involving movement, where the supply involves movement. Now, I have to supply goods to you. Okay, you are there in the state of Andhra Pradesh. I am in the state of Karnataka. I have to deliver goods to you. I have a responsibility to make the goods reach to your warehouse. So this is a supply involving movement of goods. So since it involves movement of goods, the place of supply is location of the goods at the time when the movement of goods terminates. When will the goods terminate? When it reaches your warehouse. Your warehouse is in Andhra Pradesh. So Andhra Pradesh will be the place of supply. Okay, so in case of supply involving movement of goods, now this movement can be made by the supplier or the recipient. I may take my lorry or the receiver may send his lorry. But ultimately, what is the objective? The goods journey should terminate at your place. Correct? Since it should terminate at your place will be the place of supply. Irrespective of whether the goods, the lorry is engaged by the supplier or the receiver. Got it, Mr. Ram? That where the place of supply will be the location of the goods at the time when the movement of goods is getting terminated. For what purpose? For delivery to the recipient. Okay, so that is the first provision where the place of supply of goods is determined. That is when the goods are in movement stage. Now, the place of supply in case of a bill to ship to transaction. Okay, this I will understand through a diagram instead of reading full theory. Let us understand with the example. Ms. Kashish Bagri, are you understanding this? That Maruti Traders is the main our customer. He has approached Ganesh Traders to raise for ordering of delivery of the goods. Now, Ganesh Traders is ready. He is ready to dispatch to Maruti Traders. By that time, Maruti Traders got a call from his customer saying that I need the same goods. So you decided that Ganesh Traders is in Maharashtra and I am in Karnataka. I will receive the goods, then I will deliver it to Prime Hardware. So I will do one thing. I will tell Ganesh Trader itself, don't send the goods to me. You send the goods directly to Prime Hardwares. So who is billing it? Billing to whom? Ganesh Traders will bill to Maruti Traders. So this is called billing to Maruti Traders and shipping. Shipping means movement. So lorry is moving to Prime Hardwares, which is in Tamil Nadu. So this is a case of bill to Maruti Traders and ship to his customer. So whenever in the case of bill to ship to transactions, the government is saying that the place of supply will not be where the goods are delivered. It will be where the goods, on behalf of whom the goods are being sent. On whose behalf goods are being sent, on who placed the order, Maruti Traders has placed the order. So the place of supply will be that place who has initiated the order. So since Maruti Traders has initiated the order, the place of supply will be Maruti Traders. Even though the goods are physically being delivered to Prime Hardwares, that will not be the place of supply. The place will be, in a case of bill to transaction, the bill to entity will be the place of supply. And then Maruti Traders will raise an invoice to Prime Hardwares, because ultimately what is happening? Who is Prime Hardwares? Who is the customer of Maruti Traders? Maruti Traders customer is Prime Hardware, right? He is the customer of Maruti Traders, not Ganesh Traders. So it's a Maruti Traders will raise an invoice to Prime Hardwares after the goods are being delivered to Tamil Nadu. Clear? So this is a transaction of bill to ship. Okay. Billing to one entity and shipping to another entity. That is a transaction of bill to ship to transaction. So even though the goods are moving from Maharashtra to Tamil Nadu, the billing entity will be Karnataka itself. Now this is very understandable, but let's take a scenario where only two states are involved. Maruti Traders again raises a order for delivery of goods to Ganesh Traders, and Ganesh Traders is raising an invoice to whom? Whom will the Ganesh Traders raise an invoice to? Maruti Traders is saying that deliver the goods to Prime Hardwares, but who will be the person to whom Ganesh Traders will raise an invoice on? Yes, he will raise it on Maruti Traders because he's getting order from Maruti Traders. He will tell bill to Maruti Traders and ship to Prime Hardwares. So where it is billed to Maruti Traders, it is shipped to Prime Hardwares. Okay, so billing is happening to Maruti Traders. So it is in the same state, even though the goods are moving outside the state, but bill to entity is Maruti Traders. Location of supplier is Ganesh Traders. Place of supply is Maruti Traders. Because in case of goods, the place of supply will be the entity to whom you're billing it to. So this will be the place of supply. So Ganesh Traders will raise invoice for please CGST and SGST. And then Maruti Traders will raise an invoice to Prime Hardwares without goods, because goods have already been delivered, but they will raise an invoice to collect the money. In that invoice, they will charge IGST, because location of supply is Maruti Traders and place of supply is Prime Hardwares, which is these are two different states. Clear? Invoice is raised on Maruti Traders. Yes, invoice is raised on Maruti Traders by Ganesh Traders, because who gave him the order? Maruti Traders gave him the order. Clear? So they will raise an invoice of CGST and SGST, and Maruti Traders will raise an invoice to its customer, Prime Hardwares, as IGST invoice. That is in case of a bill to ship to transaction. Now, place of supply where the supply is not involving movement of goods. First scenario we saw 10.1a where the supply involves movement of goods. In 10.1c, it will be treated as supply not involving movement of goods. The place of supply is the location of the goods at the time of delivery to the recipient. So where the goods are located, that will be the place of supply. Because in this scenario, there is no movement of goods, right? When can this scenario happen? Say I have my office. Now I'm vacating this office and all the furnitures I'm keeping it like this so that the new whoever is the tenant he can make use of this. I don't want to take the old equipments to my new office. So in this case, there is a supply because I am selling it to him, but there is no movement of these goods. Since there is no movement of these goods, it will be treated as supply of goods where supply is not involving movement. So in that case, the place of supply will be the where the goods are actually located. So it's located here. This place, this state will become the place of supply, even though the buyer is coming from outside the state. Place of supply will be the place where the goods are actually located. Got it? Clear, Miss Shafgufta Parveen? The place of supply is the location where the goods at the time of delivery of to the recipient where it is available. Very nice. Where the supply of goods is made to a person other than a registered person, the place of supply shall, notwithstanding anything contrary contained in ARC, be the location as per the address. Now, these are all the general transactions. But what happens in e-commerce transactions? I will raise a order, but I will tell ship it to my friend's location, which is in different state. So I am an unregistered person, right? So there was the loss to the government because the place of supply was decided on these rules and it was causing a loss. So they said when the supply is happening to an unregistered person, okay, then the location as per the address of the said person shall be treated as the place of supply. Okay. But otherwise, what will happen? It is billed to me, shipped to him. Billed to me means it will come to my state, right? But actually getting delivered to another state. That's where this clarity has come up. It says that if it is a supply to an unregistered person, then where the goods are actually moving, that will be the place of supply. Fine. So previous 10.1c we saw that was in case of a B2B, and in case of a B2C, the place of supply will be the location as per the address of the said person recorded in the invoice. Okay. For the purpose of this clause, recording of the name of the state of the said person shall be deemed to be enough. Mentioning full address. Sometimes you don't mention full address, you just mention the state. That is also sufficient. That is what is happening in case of all e-commerce companies. Now 10.1d says where the supply involves installation of assembly of goods. What happens in case of installation or assembly of goods? The place of supply is the place of such installation or assembly. Air conditioner, you're buying from another state, getting it installed here, right? So from another state, if I'm getting here and getting installed, the place of supply will be where this is getting installed, not the place of the supplier. Because supplier is supplying, it is getting installed in my state. So that way, place of supply will be the place where it is actually getting installed. Clear, Mr. B. Reddy? So in case of a goods which involves installation or assembly, the place of supply will be the place where it is getting installed or assembled. Very good. Simple. Now 10.1e says that where the goods are supplied on board a conveyance, including a vessel, aircraft, or train, or a motorcycle. Okay, where goods are being supplied on board a conveyance, the place of supply shall be the location at which such goods are taken on board. You're going in a train. Okay, in train, in the pantry car, they are selling food items. Now, when goods are supplied on board a conveyance, means when you are boarded inside the journey, they are supplying something, including a vessel, aircraft, train, or a motorcycle, any of these things. When the goods are being supplied while the journey is on, the place of supply will be where, similar to my example, whether Bangalore, you picked it up in Bangalore, while it was in Telangana, you're eating it, and while you're reaching Tamil Nadu, you're throwing the waste bin. So which will be the place of supply? In that case, that confusion will happen. That's why they've said the place of supply where any goods are onboarded or conveyed shall be the location at which such goods are taken on board. So if they've loaded the goods in Karnataka, the place of supply will be Karnataka. While it was stopping in Telangana, that time the goods have been loaded, then the place of supply will be Telangana. Clear? So in case of place of supply of goods, Mr. Ram, the place of supply will be where those goods are onboarded. So that fact we have to know. Where these goods are onboarded, that will become the place of supply. It could be similar in case of a train, in case of a flight, in case of a ship, everything. Okay. Clear, Mr. Sid Sangani? Yes, very nice. Okay, where any goods are supplied on board a conveyance, either through a ship, aeroplane, or a train also. The place of supply will be the location at which the goods are taken on board. Clear? Next. So we understood place of supply of goods. That were the provisions for place of supply of goods. Now we'll take the provisions of place of supply of services. Now 10 said place of supply of goods, 12 is saying place of supply of services. Here multiple places will be there. So place of supply will be much detailed. Okay, this is not required definition. Section 12 says that the provisions, it starts off with this itself. It says that the provisions of this section shall apply to determine the place of supply of services where the location of supplier and the location of recipient in India. Firstly, to get into section 12, the first condition is the location of the supplier and the location of the recipient. Not the place of supply. Place of supply will determine the location. The location of the supplier and the location of the recipient should be in India. If they are outside India, then you have to go to section 13 to determine section whether which section will apply. Okay, you have to determine where is the location of the supplier and where is the location of the recipient. If the location of supplier and the location of recipient both are in India, then you will understand it through section 12. If the location of supplier and the location of recipient, one of it is outside India, then you will go and read the provisions of section 13. Okay, that is what we have summarized here. Section 12 are in respect of domestic supply of services, and section 13 are in relation to supply of services when the service provider or service receiver is outside India. And the section 13, by the way, is out of syllabus for you. So you have to only read section 12, which is where in relation to domestic supply of goods or services, you will read the domestic supply of services. For goods, we have 10. For supply of services, we will go with section 12. ठीक है, 12 क्या बोलता है? 12 आपको इजीली बोलता है, एक फ्लो चार्ट देख लीजिए कि स्टार्ट डिसाइड इफ रूल 12(3) to 12(14) इज एप्लीकेबल. 12 में 12 1 2 3 ऐसे 12(14) तक जाता है. वेदर दीज स्पेशल रूल्स विल अप्लाई टू यू. सो यू हैव टू go to section 12. Don't read 12(1) 12(2) first. Read 12(3). 12(3) is applicable, yes. Then 12(3) will be your place of supply. 12(3) is not applicable, then go to 12(4). Is that applicable? No. Then go to 5. Like that, 6, 7, 8. Go till subsection 14. क्या आपका provisions 3 to 14 में आता है? Yes. Then apply that relevant rule. If you say no, then apply the general rule which is 12(2). Okay. यस, दिस अ क्वेश्चन। सर जनरल रूल एक बार और समझा दीजिए। जनरल रूल हम 12.2 अब अभी जाएंगे आगे, लेकिन 12.3 और 12.14 पढ़ लेते हैं, फिर हम जाएंगे 12.2 में। जनरल रूल में आगे स्लाइड में बताऊंगा, लेकिन 12.2 जाने के पहले आपको क्या करना है, 12.3 और 14 में देखना है कि उस रूल्स में आपको अप्लीकेबल है क्या। अगर अप्लीकेबल है तो वो रूल अप्लाई कीजिए, वरना आप जनरल रूल में आ जाइए। और जनरल रूल क्या बोलता है? द जनरल रूल सेज दैट where the supply is to a registered person, then the location of the person who's receiving the services, that is the place of supply. Okay, when you supply to a registered person, then the location of the person receiving the services, that is the place of supply. And if you are supplying it to an unregistered person, okay, अगर आप registered person को supply कर रहे हो तो उसका address रहेगा आपके पास, then where his address is there, that is the place of supply. If you are supplying it to an unregistered person, then the location of some unregistered person is address is available, that will be the place of supply. And if you are उसका address भी नहीं है, वो unregistered है, उसका address भी नहीं है, then the location of supplier himself will become the place of supply. तो मतलब क्या है, जनरल रूल बोलता है अगर रजिस्टर्ड पर्सन है तो फिर उसका रजिस्टर्ड एड्रेस कहाँ पे, दैट बिकम द प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई। अगर वो अनरजिस्टर्ड है और एड्रेस है, देन हिज एड्रेस विल बिकम द प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई। लेकिन एड्रेस भी नहीं है, देन लोकेशन ऑफ सप्लायर हिमसेल्फ विल बिकम द प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई। ठीक है, लेट्स टेक अ एग्जांपल। जैसे एक प्रोविजन स्टोर्स है, प्रोविजन स्टोर्स में जाते हो आप, यू बाई समथिंग एंड यू लीव, यू आर फ्रॉम कमिंग फ्रॉम डिफरेंट स्टेट। Now, will the supplier ask you are in which state? He will not ask, he'll just sell it to you. Correct? So, when he's selling it to an unregistered person and his state is not known, then the place of supply will be his own state itself. क्योंकि वो दुकान पे ही बेच रहा है, right? So, the place of supply will be where his store is located. Got it? So, this is a general rule. मतलब अगर स्पेसिफिक रूल नहीं अप्लाई करता है, स्पेसिफिक इंस्टेंस, स्पेसिफिक एग्जांपल्स जो दिए हैं वो अगर वो अप्लाई नहीं होगा, तो फिर दिस जनरल रूल विल बी एप्लीकेबल। क्लियर मिस परवीन? क्लियर सोमेश? अभी स्पेसिफिक रूल जाते हैं। 12.2 में देख लिया हमने जनरल रूल, अभी देखते हैं स्पेसिफिक रूल। वेरी गुड सोमेश, वेरी गुड मिस परवीन। 12.3 बोलता है कि वेयर दैट इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी इज लोकेटेड, जहां पर आपका इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी रिलेटेड सर्विस है, वेयर सर्विसेज इन रिलेशन टू एन इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी है। जैसे घर हो गया है, होटल हो गया है, बोट हो गया, वेजल हो गया है। इन रिलेशन टू दिस, जैसे घर का बाड़ा, या फिर आर्किटेक्चरल सर्विसेज, डिजाइन सर्विसेज इन रिलेशन टू इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी, सप्लाई ऑफ सर्विसेज रिलेटिंग टू इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी और लॉजिंग अकोमोडेशन इन अ होटल, बोट, वेजल और अकोमोडेशन इन एन इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी फॉर social, business, religious or cultural functions, right? Where the location of immovable property is in India, the place of supply shall be where the location of such immovable property is located. अगर आपको होटल में स्टे करना है, यू आर कमिंग फ्रॉम आउटसाइड द स्टेट एंड स्टेइंग इन होटल, विल द प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई विल बी वेयर यू आर स्टेइंग? नो, इट विल बी वेयर दिस होटल इज लोकेटेड। ठीक है, आप कोलकाता से बैंगलोर आते हो, कोलकाता में आप रजिस्टर्ड हो, बैंगलोर में आप रजिस्टर्ड नहीं हो, but you're coming for audit in Bangalore. Okay. Now tell me the answer for this. From Kolkata, a chartered accountant is coming and doing the audit in Bangalore, right? The what will be the place of supply? First question. Secondly, what will the hotel charge? Will he charge the charges for the stay और उसके ऊपर टैक्सेस सीजीएसटी एसजी लगाएगा या आईजीएसटी लगाएगा? Question Kajal Yadav is that a auditor who is registered in Kolkata is coming to Bangalore because the auditee, that is the client, is in Bangalore. He's staying in a hotel in Bangalore. Now the hotel will charge him CGST, SGST, or IGST. Ms. Kashish Singh is saying place of supply will be Kolkata and IGST has to be charged. Lokesh and Mr. B. Reddy is saying CGST and SGST. Ms. Parveen is saying IGST. Siddhi Sangani and Somesh Singh are saying CGST and SGST. Right. So let's see what is the answer. The property, the place of supply for hotel accommodation, when the location of immovable property is in India, the place of supply will be location of such immovable property. Where is that location of that immovable property? It is in Karnataka itself. So the place of supply will be Karnataka. Location of the supplier, that is the hotel person's location, also is in Karnataka, and place of supply also is in Karnataka. Even though a person from Kolkata comes in, he will charge CGST and SGST only. He will not charge any IGST. So in relation to immovable property services, where that immovable property is located, that will be the place of supply, right? But if that immovable property is located outside India, if you are giving a hotel, going and staying in a hotel, right, and the hotel is outside India, then the place of supply will be the location of the recipient. Okay, when will this happen? When the place of supply, we said the conditions for section 12, right? Starting itself, the location of supplier and place of supply should be in India. Your Indian person is owning that hotel outside India. Then the place of supply will be the location of the recipient. Clear here? Where that immovable property is located, that will be the place of supply if it is in India. If it is outside India, where the location of recipient is there, that is the place of supply. Now, what all services, when it is directly in relation to immovable property, architect services, interior designer, estate agents, real estate brokers, their services are all covered here. Then grant of right, you're getting some rights for this immovable property. That is also treated as a immovable property related services. Lodging accommodation, that is a hotel, guest house, homestay, clubs, campsites, all of that will be covering here itself. And then accommodation in immovable property for organizing any events, marriage, reception. Okay, you're having a mandap or a hall. All of that is treated as a immobile property services. So where such immobile property services are rendered, correct. Where that immobile property are rendered, that is where that property exists, there only it is rendered. Okay. Any services ancillary to this, they are also treated as immobile property service itself. Directly or indirectly, any services provided in relation to the immobile property will be treated as the place of supply will be the where that immobile property is located. Services in relation to an immovable property, lodging in a property where it is located in multiple states. Then what happens? The number of nights stayed in each property, you will decide it. Okay. Now you're buying a package for stay in hotels, saying that for a trip, 10 days trip. Now 10 days you're doing in different places. So each night, which place you stay. One day you stay in Karnataka, one day you stay in Kerala, third day you stay in Tamil Nadu. Like that, each state, right? Like for a package of 3 days, you're staying in three different states. So each night, which place you're staying, that will be deciding the place of supply. And accommodation of immobile property for organizing events or lodging. Then, in that case, area of the immobile property lying in each state. That when a property is in a border state, and that property is covering both the states, then what is the area in each of these states? That will be the place of supply. Lodging in a house, boat or vessel, like you're staying in a what do you call, in Kerala you have backwaters. Backwaters मतलब बोट के अंदर आप सो सकते हो और बोट पानी में घूमते रहेगा. So in that case, time spent on vessel in each state, right? Declaration which is made by the service provider. Service provider, that both person will say that you were there as 60 hours in Kerala, 40 hours in Tamil Nadu. Because it may be that water, right? You may have to travel to various states. So 60% is in Kerala, 40% is in Tamil Nadu. So according to that, place of supply will vary. सर इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी का पीओएस का समझ आ गया है, बट इसमें सीजीएसटी कैसे आएगा? परवीन जी, लोकेशन ऑफ सप्लायर क्या है होटल का? वहां पे जहां पे उसका होटल है वो है लोकेशन ऑफ सप्लायर, क्योंकि वो रजिस्ट्रेशन वहां पे ही लेगा. करेक्ट. सो लोकेशन ऑफ सप्लायर इज दैट इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी. प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई आप समझ गए कि जहां पे इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी है. सो लोकेशन ऑफ सप्लायर और प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई दोनों एक ही स्टेट में है. करेक्ट. तो हमने पहले ही डिसाइड किया था ना, वेयर द लोकेशन ऑफ सप्लायर एंड प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई आर इन द सेम स्टेट, देन इट इज अ इंट्रा स्टेट ट्रांजैक्शन. और इंट्रा स्टेट ट्रांजैक्शन है तो फिर क्या चार्ज करेंगे? सीजीएसटी और एसजीएसटी. तो इसीलिए सीजीएसटी और एसजीएसटी चार्ज कर रहे हैं. अब समझ में आया आपको? कुछ डाउट है? क्लियर. ठीक है. So similarly, the house or vessel where this border cases are there they have said that in case of border states, area of that immovable property line, and in case of lodging in a house, boat or vessel, time spent on the vessel in each state. Next, from immovable property, we'll go to restaurant or catering services or personal grooming, where restaurant, catering services, personal grooming, fitness, gym वगैरह है, उनका प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई कहाँ पे होगा? वेयर सच सर्विसेज आर एक्चुअली परफॉर्म. डॉक्टर बॉम्बे से बैंगलोर में आके ऑपरेशन कर रहा है, प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई विल बी बैंगलोर. ठीक है. फिटनेस, प्लास्टिक सर्जरी के लिए आप एक स्टेट से दूसरे स्टेट में जाते हो, देन वेयर दैट सर्विसेज आर एक्चुअली परफॉर्म, दैट इज द प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई. रेस्टोरेंट सर्विसेज, मेकअप आर्टिस्ट, जब शूटिंग चलता है हीरोज जहां पे शूटिंग करता है वहां पे ग्रूमिंग आर्टिस्ट जाते हैं. तो कहां पे परफॉर्म कर रहे हैं वो लोग, कहां पे, विच स्टेट में शूटिंग चल रही है, दैट बिकम द प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई. ठीक है. सो इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी सर्विसेज, देन स्पेसिफिक परफॉर्मेंस सर्विसेज, जहां पे परफॉर्मेंस होता है, दैट बी द प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई इन दिस केस. देन 12.5 सेज ट्रेनिंग एंड परफॉर्मेंस अप्रेजल सर्विसेज. यहां पे थोड़ा डिफरेंट है. एज आई सेड, सर्विसेज में कॉम्प्लिकेटेड होगा. तो जहां पर भी ट्रेनिंग और परफॉर्मेंस सर्विसेज है, परफॉर्मेंस अप्रेजल सर्विसेज है, इन केस ऑफ बी टू बी सप्लाई, द प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई इज द लोकेशन ऑफ द सच पर्सन. ठीक है. इन्फोसिस कंपनी बैंगलोर में है, वो ट्रेनिंग देने के लिए एम्प्लॉइज को बैंगलोर से लेके जाती है महाराष्ट्र. ठीक है. ट्रेनिंग, अभी ट्रेनर आएगा महाराष्ट्र में, सर्विस प्रोवाइड करेगा. ठीक है. इन्फोसिस आपको पता है रजिस्टर्ड है ही है. So what will be the place of supply for that training services? ट्रेनर जो है दिल्ली से आ रहा है. ट्रेनर इज इन दिल्ली, द कंपनी इज इन बैंगलोर, रजिस्टर्ड इन बैंगलोर, और ट्रेनिंग हो रहा है महाराष्ट्र में, मुंबई में. So what will be the place of supply in that case? बहुत लोग बोल रहे हैं महाराष्ट्र महाराष्ट्र. काजल यादव, वेरी नाइस, यू हैव गिवन अ करेक्ट आंसर. द प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई इज द लोकेशन ऑफ द रिसिपिएंट. लोकेशन ऑफ द रिसिपिएंट कौन है? रिसिपिएंट यहाँ पे एम्प्लॉयज नहीं है, रिसिपिएंट है कंपनी, क्योंकि ट्रेनिंग किसको चाहिए? एम्प्लॉयज को नहीं चाहिए, कंपनी को चाहिए कि हमारे एम्प्लॉयज ट्रेन हो जाए. सो हु इज द रिसिपिएंट, नॉट द पर्सन, क्योंकि पैसे कौन दे रहे हैं? एम्प्लॉयज तो पैसे नहीं देंगे, कंपनी ही पैसे देगी. करेक्ट. सो कंपनी इज द रिसिपिएंट. Okay, so in that case, where the company is registered, that company is registered, as we have said, in Bangalore. So the location of such person is in Bangalore. So place of supply will be in Bangalore, not Maharashtra. Of course, किसी ने Delhi नहीं दिया. That's a good point. That yes, where the service provider is there, that will not be the place of supply. It will either be where it is actually performed or where the person is located. और इस केस में located person is in Karnataka, Bangalore. So place of supply will be Bangalore itself. Okay. नेक्स्ट, इन केस ऑफ B2C सप्लाई, जैसे इन्फोसिस ने किया, इन्फोसिस ने किसी अनरजिस्टर्ड कंपनी ने अपने एम्प्लॉयज को भेजा है महाराष्ट्र. ट्रेनर दिल्ली से महाराष्ट्र आ रहा है. इन दैट केस द प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई विल बी प्लेस वेयर द सर्विसेज एक्चुअली परफॉर्म. सो अगर अनरजिस्टर्ड कंपनी है, सो व्हाट विल बी द प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई? फर्स्ट केस में हमने डिसाइड किया कि वो बैंगलोर है. सेकेंड केस में भी बैंगलोर होगा या दिल्ली होगा या महाराष्ट्र होगा. Yes, in that case, where the recipient is unregistered, the place of supply is Maharashtra. That is where it is actually performed. You're right. Good. You understood the provision where it is B2B, the location of the such person, where it is B2C, where the service is actually performed. Okay. Where next is in case of services by way of admission to any events. जैसे आप एग्जीबिशन जाते हो, आईपीएल जाते हो, क्वेरियम जाते हो, म्यूजियम जाते हो, एंट्री फीस लगता है. सो वो एंट्री फीस इज ऑल्सो टाइप ऑफ सर्विस बाय वे ऑफ एडमिशन टू एनी इवेंट्स. सो इन दैट केस व्हाट विल बी द प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई? Service place of supply of the following services: admission to cultural sports events, admission to amusement park. The place of supply will be the where the event is actually held. That where that event is at, where that IPL is held, where that अगर पार्क जाना है, अम्यूजमेंट पार्क कहाँ पे है, that will be the place of supply. That is, all of this is performance driven. Where that event is conducted, that will be the place of supply. So where services are being performed, where such events are held, yes, that will be the place of supply. Correct, Mr. Reddy. Right. Next is organizing of an event or assigning of sponsorship to such event. Where the recipient is registered, the location of the recipient. Where the recipient is unregistered, then there is difference. मतलब आपको एक इवेंट करना है और आप एक इवेंट मैनेजमेंट कंपनी के पास जाते हो. यू आर गोइंग टू एन इवेंट मैनेजमेंट कंपनी. Ram, you are able to understand Hindi. Others, is Hindi comfortable with you all? Oh no. Okay, Mr. Ram, I will teach you in English itself. Okay, so we'll stick on to English itself so that everybody will be clear. Okay. In case of organizing of an events where you are engaging a event management company. Now, what GST should the event management company charge? For that, we have this subsection where the event management company is giving the service to a person who is registered. Then the location of the recipient, similar to the previous services, what we had seen in case of training. Same provision will apply here. When the recipient is registered, the location of the recipient will be the place of supply. But if the recipient is unregistered, then if the event is in India, the location where the event is held. But if the recipient is unregistered and the event is outside India, then you cannot tell location is outside India. Then it becomes the location of the recipient. Because if you have the location outside India, then it will be treated as export of service. And government doesn't want to lose the revenue by stating as export, क्योंकि export के ऊपर government cannot charge GST. Export is exempted under GST, or export is actually not exempted. It's a zero rated supply. So that's why they want to see that where section 12 is applicable, we want to bring the place of supply somehow in India itself. So where the recipient is unregistered and the event is in India, then the location where the event is held. But in case where the event is outside India, then the location will not be where the event is held. It will become where the location of the recipient is there. Okay. Understood, Ram? Good. Fine. Next, getting the event of organization of events are assigning same thing. If the event is held in more than one state and one consolidated amount is not, I'm telling you to an exhibition in 3 states. And if it is given to a registered person, place of supply will be always the location of the recipient. उसमें कुछ problem ही नहीं है, because we know in the previous slide where the exhibition is conducted to a registered person, then the place of supply will be where the location of the registered person is there. But if I'm supplying it to an unregistered person, place of supply is deemed to be in the respective state in proportion to the value of services determined. So, on the basis of accounting, that each state how much you are assigning the expense, that will be deciding the place of supply. Okay, so where it is same organizing of an event or assigning of sponsorship, if it is to a registered person in multiple state, the place of supply will be which state? Okay, place of supply will be the location of the recipient always. When it is supplied to an unregistered person, it will be place of supply deemed to be in respective state in proportion to the value of service what you determine. How you will determine? By accounting standards, you will determine what is the how much percentage you have to assign for each state. Then moving on to the next service, which is transportation of goods, including mail or courier. That is when you are using the courier services, right? जब हम courier services use कर रहे हैं, then the place of supply will be the location of the person in case of a registered person. Where service are provided to an unregistered person, the place of supply will be where the goods are handed over. Because you're handing the goods to a courier agency, that become the place of supply. If you are a registered person where you are registered, that become the place of supply. Clear? Now passenger transport services. जैसे बस हो गया है, train हो गया है. These are all passenger transport services. In case of a passenger transport services or issue of right to passage for future use and the point of boarding not known at the time of issue of passage. In both these cases, where the recipient is registered, location of the recipient. So say a company is booking tickets for its employees. The company is registered. Now, wherever you go, place of supply will be the location of the recipient where the company is registered. That will become the place of supply. In case recipient is unregistered, you're booking a ticket, you're generally going and buying a ticket for yourself, you're not giving a GST number. Then place of supply will be the location where the passenger embarks on the conveyance for a continuous journey. Jahan pe he is boarding the train, jahan pe where he is catching the bus. The first journey which it started. Okay, location where the passenger embarks on the conveyance, where he's stepping into the bus, where he's stepping into the train. That will become the place of supply where the recipient is unregistered. Mostly it will be unregistered only, right? Because sometimes only company will say that use my GST number if it is for a business trip. Otherwise, it will all be casual trip itself where we are starting the journey. That become the place of supply, right? And second is issue of right to passage. Suppose you are not buying a ticket, you're buying a kind of a voucher saying that, okay, I can use it for 10 travel tickets. Airline company says, okay, we'll give you a voucher. You use this for 10 travels, you can use it. Now, here you don't know where you will board it. So, where the address of the unregistered person is available, then the location of the unregistered person. In other cases, the location of supplier of the service itself, where the supplier of either it be location of the recipient or the location of supplier. If the recipient's address is available, then that will become the location place of supply. If the address is not available, then it become the location of the supplier. Clear? You have to remember this because there are multiple provisions. Each provision you have to memorize and keep it in your mind. Logically, you see, if the company books a thing, they want to claim the credit. So the government wants to give them the credit. So the place of supply will be the location of the recipient. But if it is unregistered, you don't know where the recipient is there. When where the passenger is embarking the journey, that will become the place of supply. And where the address is available in case of point systems. If where the address is available, then that will become the place of supply. If address is not available, then the supplier's place will become the place of supply. Like that, you will have to logically think and remember this. Then 1210, where the supply is services supplied on board a conveyance. We saw under section 10 when goods are supplied on board a conveyance. Here, when the service is supplied on board a conveyance. Okay, when the service is supplied on board a conveyance, location of the first scheduled point of departure of that conveyance, which means I'm booking a flight from Delhi. That flight goes to Mumbai. From Mumbai, it goes to Jammu and Kashmir. So flight is starting from Delhi. And it has a stop in Mumbai. From Mumbai, then it goes to Jammu and Kashmir. Now I get on the flight at Mumbai. Flight is starting from Delhi. There is a pit stop in Mumbai. Then it will go to Jammu and Kashmir. I am boarding the flight in Mumbai and I'm using the services of music services. I can download the music paying 200 rupees and I can listen it. Now it's a supply of service, even food also, because restaurant services and all is supply of service itself. But for easy understanding, let's take a restaurant services. I'm drinking a coffee. Is it goods or services? Service. Correct. So when you have any food, unless it is a packaged foods, right? It is all a service itself. Restaurant and all is a service because they will serve you. That's why it's a service. Now you're drinking a coffee from Mumbai to Jammu and Kashmir. What will be the place of supply? Repeat the question, Mr. Lokesh. I'm asked. My question is, firstly, restaurant serving of coffee in a flight, is it supply of service or goods? That's the first question. Second question is, I am boarding a flight in Mumbai. The flight started from Delhi, came to Mumbai, then it's going to Jammu and Kashmir. So for that coffee, what is the place of supply for drinking that coffee? Right. Mumbai as it's a starting point, Mumbai as a boarding point. The place of supply is not the boarding point. As you can see, location of the first scheduled point of departure of that conveyance. What is the first scheduled point of departure? That where did the flight start from? The flight start from Delhi, then it came to Mumbai, and then it is going to Jammu and Kashmir, not where I onboarded. The in case of supply of goods, it is where I onboard a conveyance. But in case of supply of services, it is location of the first scheduled point of departure. Here in the first scheduled point of departure, it is Delhi. So the place of supply for that coffee will be the place of supply will be Delhi. So they will charge Delhi GST and not the Mumbai GST. Okay. This is different from goods supplied on board. When they are supplied, goods are supplied, then goods are supplied on board or conveyance. The place of supply was the location at which the goods are taken on board. But in case of supply of services, it is not where the goods are taken on board. It is the first scheduled point of departure. That is a very important difference. Clear, everybody? Most of you had answered Mumbai. Mumbai is not the place. Mumbai will become the place of supply for goods, but for services, it will be even for supply of goods, it will be where they have onboarded, not where you onboard a conveyance. Where those goods are onboarded, that will become the place of supply. For services, it will be where the first scheduled point of departure is there. In this case, there is no distinction between B2B and B2C. No such distinction. Then 1211 says telecommunication services. जहां पर भी telecommunication services है, where there is a fixed line, where the location of the location where the telecommunication line, lease, circuit, or cable connection or distance is installed for recipient of services. Where it is installed, that will become the place of supply. In case of postpaid, billing address will be there. So wherever billing address is there, that will become the place of supply. But in case of prepaid, what will happen? Prepaid, you have various options, right? You have a selling agent. Wherever that selling agent is there, okay, the address of that selling agent will become the place of supply. And where the service is provided by a final subscriber, then the location where such prepayment is received or voucher is sold, where some voucher, scratch card you have to take and recharge. Where such prepayment is received or sold, that become the place of supply. Where prepaid services, the payment are made through internet, right? Most of the time we now do recharge through online, right? Amazon or Airtel or any these Google Pays, right? So location of the recipient of services in the record will become not the location of the supplier. Like offline, if you do, it will become location of the supplier. If you do online, then it will become the location of the recipient. And in all other cases, address of the recipient as per the records. If address of the recipient is not there, then the address of the supplier. That is the place of supply for telecommunication services. Very simple, elaborated, simple, but where it is made by an agent, offline agent, then it is location of the supplier. If it is online, then it is the location of the recipient. Next is financial and stockbroking services. Again, here, where the recipient details are available, then the location of the recipient. If the location of the recipient of services is not available, then the location of the supplier. Same with insurance services also, location of the service recipient in the records of the supplier of the services itself. Now, advertisement services. Advertisement services will become very elaborate. So, advertisement services, they're saying where the advertisement services involve dissemination of the material supplied. Matlab, for advertising a big pamphlet, you have to give the pamphlet to various states. Okay. Then, in case we have to distribute it, where it is identifiable to a specific state, saying that government scheme is there, government is saying you do the advertisement in a specific state, then that state will become the place of supply. If it is multiple state, saying that you distribute it to 3-4 states in the south of Karnataka, South India, then each of those states in the proportionate basis will become the place of supply. How do you determine the proportionate is given in rule 3. You don't have to get into it so much detail, but you have to just keep the thing in mind that it is on a proportionate basis. Okay. So that covers the place of supply for services. So we went through 12.1, 12.2. We started from 12.3 to 12.14. So if the services is specific to 12.3 to 12.14, then we will go through these. If there is general services like chartered accountant services, what will become the place of supply for chartered accountant services? Only one answer. If the recipient is registered, then place of such registered person, where the location of the advertisement is broadcasted or played on run. Yeah, there also you have proportionate basis location, which state you're playing it. You'll play in the, say, in radio channel, radio in Karnataka, then through that extent, some cost involved in Tamil Nadu to that extent. So each state, how much you're broadcasting, advertisements also same thing. On the television, each state wise, how much broadcast is happening, that will decide like the TRP of each state, that will become the proportionate basis. Good question, Lokesh. If recipient is address is available with supplier, then the place of such place. In all other cases, place of supplier. Exactly right. Because that is the general rule under 12.2. Correct? So since it is not falling under one of these specific category, so that is the reason what we'll do, we'll go to the general category. General category says that 12.2. 12.2 says that where the supply is to a registered person, then the location of the person receiving the services. If it is to an unregistered person, location of such unregistered person if address is available. If address is not available, then the location of the supplier. Very good. Okay, what is the intrastate supply? Simple. Intrastate supply, we know where the supply of goods, where the location of supplier and place of supply are in the same state, then it is treated as an intrastate supply. Where the supply of goods to a SEZ developer or SEZ unit will never be treated as an intrastate, it will always be treated as an interstate. Even if the SEZ is in the same state, but SEZ is treated as a different country. So supply to a SEZ is treated as a interstate supply. Goods imported will always be treated as an interstate supply, and supplies made to a tourist, a foreign tourist, will always be treated as an interstate supply. Then intrastate supply, where the supply of services, where the location of supplier and place of supply are in the same state, it shall be treated as an intrastate supply. And provided that intrastate supply of services shall not include, again, intrastate supply to a SEZ will not be treated as a intrastate, it will always be treated as an interstate supply. That's okay, nothing major. Then supplies in territorial waters. If you're making any supply in the territorial waters, then the location of the supplier in the territorial waters, right? How will, when you're supplying something on the territorial waters, that is, say, Bombay High. In Bombay High, there is extraction of petroleum by the Reliance. Now, that is not a state. It is a ocean, or it is a highway, or a territorial water. So in that case, what will be the place of supply is what is being asked here. So what will be the place of supply in that cases, or say in backwaters, Kerala backwaters, some supply is happening. There, what will be the place of supply? Where the location of the supplier is in territorial waters, the location of the supplier itself. Where the place of supply is in the territorial waters, the place of supply shall be the, for the purpose of this act, be deemed to be the coastal state, right? Like Bombay High, the coastal state is Maharashtra. So the place of supply will be Maharashtra in such cases. Okay. And in case of backwaters, which is the coal closest place, Kerala. So Kerala will be the place of supply. Clear till here? So these are the major parts on place of supply. So we'll take some MCQs to understand what we have understood is right or no. Ram Limited of Maharashtra contracts with Sham Limited Rajasthan to sell his old used furniture for 1,50,000. The goods will be delivered to Sham Limited at Gujarat to his new branch, which is not yet registered under GST. So what will be the place of supply if delivery was made by Ram Limited at his own risk? It involves movement of good, yes. Gujarat, because it is movement of goods. Correct. So the correct answer is Gujarat, because the goods are getting terminated. Where the journey of the goods is getting ended, it is getting ended in Gujarat. So place of supply is Gujarat. Somebody was saying Rajasthan. No, it's not Rajasthan. Neither it is Maharashtra. Okay, where the goods terminates, कहाँ पे good का turning खत्म होता है, that will become the place of supply. Yeah. What is the answer for this? What is the definition of export? Oh my God. Export definition means place of supply of goods is outside India. No. Location of recipient is outside India. No. Sale to a foreign country. No. So export of goods means taking out of India to a place outside India. That's all. Export of goods means the goods have to go out of India. Just you sell to a foreign country. No, 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 no. Sell to a foreign country but deliver to India. Various things will happen. The actual definition of export of goods is taking out of India to a place outside India. That is the definition of export of goods. Next question. Yes. Supply to SEZ is treated as an interstate supply. Ms. Parveen, why are you saying B? Is it an interstate supply? Just because it's in the same state, it will always be an interstate supply to SEZ, and exports and imports. They are always interstate supply only. Understand this question. Mr. A is in Goa. He delivers it to B. He is also in Goa only. But that delivery was on the instruction of Mr. C, who is situated in Pune, which means what? It is a bill to ship to transaction. In this case, which of the following sentence is true? A will charge CGST and SGST to B. A will charge IGST to C. A will charge IGST to B. Or both B and C he will do. Yes, D is correct. Both B and C. Because A will not charge anything to B because B is not his customer. C is his customer because the delivery was on the direction of C. So A will bill to C and ship to B. So this is where this billing will happen from A to C. So this is a bill to and ship to transaction. So in case of a bill to ship to transaction, A will charge an invoice to C. Now A and C are in different states. So A will charge IGST to C. C will charge IGST again to B. So the A and B. So D is the correct answer. Clear, Kajal and Mr. B Reddy? Perfect. Yeah, this you have to answer. Question number 5. In case of a leasing transaction, not movement of goods. Correct. Because the goods are already there, it's a case of no movement of goods. In this case, what will be the place of supply? Yes, correct answer is C, where the location of the machinery is located because it does not involve movement of goods. Answer is C. Yes, in this case, option is C, where the plant is assembled. The plant is assembled in Kutch, so answer is C. Right. Many of you have given correct answer. Pune being the place of installation of the generator set. Last question before we take a break. All varieties of answers I've got. A, B, C, everything. Nobody has told D, luckily. If you are saying A, if you are saying B, and if you're saying C, mostly skewed towards B. Yes, B is the correct answer because supply of goods. Okay, supply of goods will be the place where the goods are onboarded. Okay, not where the journey starts. That is for services, but for goods, where the goods are onboarded, goods are getting onboarded from Coimbatore. So place of supply will be Coimbatore. Okay, let's take a break and then we'll come back in 10 minutes. We'll catch up at 7:45. Right. So we completed place of supply. Now we'll move to the next topic, which is time of supply. Okay. We understood which place, so whether we should charge CGST, SGST, and things. Now we'll get into what is the time of supply. When should we pay GST? Okay. So time of supply is very simple. There are various times involved. You have like in a transaction. This is very easy to understand, not a very hard topic, very light thing. Now you have a supply of goods or services. Say we'll take a case of supply of goods. In case of supply of goods, you have various transactions or various pointers taking up. You have to buy something as a company, as a corporate, you have to buy some goods. As an individual, it's fine. You'll just go to a shop and buy it, simple. But if a company has to buy, it just can't go to a shop and buy it because the supplier should be having that much of quantity. You should have that quality. Everything should get satisfied. That is the reason for a bulk order. It is not such simple. So what they will do, they will place a purchase order firstly. Then after the purchase order is placed, there will be dispatch of goods by the supplier after he readies it. After he dispatches, there is delivery of the goods. And that is, as soon as it dispatches, it will not come to me, right? Not like Zepto that he will send and it will come to me. He may be sending from a different state. It will take around 3 to 4 days to reach out. It could be 2 days, 5 days, whatever number of days based on the transportation. He can send it by train. He can send it by courier. He can send it through lorry. Various modes of transport will be possible. So he will dispatch the goods and the goods will be delivered to me. And then I will enter in my records as purchases, approve it, and then the payment will happen. Sometimes payment can happen in advance also. So when various points are there, what is the point of time when GST becomes payable? That is the question. What point of time you think GST will become payable? Any guesses? Delivery. Okay. Delivery is made, but invoice is not raised. Damn. Is that possible? Goods are delivered, but invoice is raised later on. But yeah, you're right. Where the goods are delivered, or goods will take delivery may take late, but dispatch is important. So dispatch will become one important. Some cases, payment or issue of invoice. Ms. Kashish Bagri is saying, right, right. So to decide what time should the GST be paid is what time of supply will tell us. Because there are various legs, that's the reason we will decide under this that what will be the time of supply. Okay. So before that, we know this definition of goods, right? Goods means all kinds of mobile property, but exclude money and securities, but it includes actionable claims, growing crops, grass, and things attached to or forming part of the land, which is agreed to be severed before supply of contract, which means if there is a growing tree, now somebody can pluck the fruits from it and sell it, or they can say, along with the sale of land itself, you can buy it. So where the agreement is that instead of selling trees, I am selling you the whole land itself. That is, this tree is being a part of the land and it is agreed to be severed, which means that there are two contracts to avoid the GST. I'm saying, okay, I'm selling the land. So this also you buy it off. Don't pay GST because it becomes an immovable property. So to avoid that thing, the definition of goods is saying that where the plant is sold along with the land, but it is agreed that the fruit value is also included there. So to the extent of severing, the taking out the fruits, it is a goods. This is what this definition is saying. Okay. Then services means same, anything other than goods, money and securities. So everything other than money, anything, not everything, I use the word anything other than goods, money and securities is services. And it includes activities relating to use of money or its conversion or activities facilitating or transactions of securities. So money is excluded, services are excluded, but the activity to convert the money, right? Or convert the securities. The charges, what is being levied, that is services, but money and securities per se are not services. Who is the recipient? Here it is important because who is the recipient? If the consideration is payable, then the person who is liable to pay that consideration, he is the recipient, right? Like in that example of previously we saw, no, that who is using the service is important. The employee uses the services, but who will pay? The company is liable to pay. So who is the recipient? Whether the company or the employee? Person who is liable to pay the consideration. The company is liable to pay. Correct, Ram? So company is liable to pay the consideration for the training. So company is the recipient. If no consideration is payable, then the person to whom the goods are delivered. So when there's a contract in which the recipient is not liable to pay, right, because of barter or whatever, then the person to whom the goods are delivered or made available, he is the recipient. And if no consideration is payable for the supply of goods, then the person to whom the services is rendered. For goods, to whom you deliver the goods. For services, to whom you render the services, they are the recipient. And recipient can include the recipient himself or the agent on whose behalf the goods are received, right? Because sometimes if the recipient is not there, he may authorize some person to receive on his behalf. Then that person will become the recipient itself. Next, supplier. Supplier means the person in relation to goods or services means the person supplying the goods. So person who is supplying the goods and his agent will be treated as a supplier itself. Now, time of supply provisions simply says in simple terms that the liability to pay tax on goods shall arise at the time of the supply. The time of supply is earlier of date of issue of invoice or the date of receipt of payment, whichever is earlier. But there is a notification. The notification says that taxpayer under forward charge are not required to pay GST at the time of receipt of advance in relation to supply of goods, which means the time of supply of goods under section 12 says either the date of issue of invoice or receipt of payment, whichever is earlier. But by this notification number 66 of 2017, dated 15 November 17 itself, government has said that this you do not have to apply. Which means what is the time of supply of goods? Date of issue of invoice is the time of supply of goods. Receipt of payment is not relevant. Whether you have received in advance, you received later on. Receipt of money is not relevant for goods only. Don't get confused for services. For goods only, it is date of issue of invoice is the time of supply. Okay. Now, when you should issue an invoice, you cannot say that, okay, after I've sent the goods, after 10 days, I will issue an invoice. The time of supply can push it. No. There is a time limit. It says by when you should raise a invoice. Date of issue of invoice is where the supply involves movement of goods at the time of removal of the goods. And in case of other than movement, where the delivery of the goods are made available to the receiver. Before this, you have to raise an invoice. Not that like how Ram was saying that dispatch or delivery of the goods. So before you dispatch the good, before you remove the good, that is when you have to raise an invoice. And when the goods are not getting moved, but the goods are made available, before that you have to raise an invoice. Clear, Mrs. Lavanya? Okay, let's move forward. Time of supply of goods is only raising of invoice. When you should raise the invoice? When the goods are moving, before the goods are being dispatched, where the goods are not moving, when the goods are being handed over or delivered. Now there could be a continuous supply of goods. Means you are dispatching the goods continuously. Okay, through a wire, cable, or pipeline, or a conduit. Suppose there's a construction work going on. They want the cement. So they're saying the cement company that you set up your batching plant next to a building construction itself. As and when required, I will take it from you. So they have set up a pipeline from the batching plant. As and when the wood, cement is getting generated, concrete is getting generated, it will be sent to the building project. Okay. Because they cannot wait. By the time cement, concrete goes, if you leave it for some time, it will get hardened up. So it has to be in moving position always. Right. So the setup of plant goes to the construction site itself. So how is the goods being moved through a pipeline? Is it one time and stop? No. Continuously it be moving as and when the work is going on. So that is an example of continuous supply of goods. So in case of continuous supply of goods, what will be the time of supply will see. And what is continuous supply of services? In case of goods, at least we know that there is a movement through some device or instrument. But in case of services, that's not the case, right? Because in case of services, it will be a little difficult. So what they have said, in case of supply of services, the duration is relevant here. That is where services are being supplied continuously for a period of 3 months. That is continuous supply of services. For goods, no such time, because physically we can see it that goods are moving continuously. But for services, we can't see. They have said that where there is an agreement and which is being for a period of 3 months or more. Below 3 months, then it's fine. It's not a continuous supply. But if the contract is for more than 3 months, then it's a continuous supply of services. What is the timeline for issuance of invoice in case of continuous supply of goods, where the successive statements or account payments are involved? Then the invoice shall be issued before the time each such statement is issued. Right? Like this batching plant, I have to issue a statement. Say we have agreed that we will issue a statement once in 15 days. So at the time of issue of statement only, I have to raise a invoice. Okay. Or say that they're making payment on a fixed term. Then statement we will adjust at the end. So weekly payment I'm being received. So at the time of receipt itself, I have to raise the invoice. Okay. That is the time of supply for continuous supply of goods. And where the goods are being sent on approval or sale or return basis. When the goods are sent on approval or return basis, then you should raise an invoice within 6 months from the date of removal or before the time or at the time of supply, whichever is earlier. So you have issued the goods. Now the recipient can keep it for approval basis, saying that I am not buying the good now. I will approve it and then I will buy it. Okay, no problem. Get it approved. So I will not raise an invoice now. Okay, I will not raise an invoice, but you cannot keep it with you for a long time. You have to get it approved within 6 months. Within 6 months, if it is getting approved, fine. Otherwise, at the end of 6 months, I will raise an invoice. That is the time of supply for sale on goods on approval basis. Now, time of supply for goods under reverse charge, we'll come to this later on because we have a comparative chart. Now, time of supply of vouchers, it is not there because vouchers have been removed. Now, time of supply of vouchers, just understand this because this will not yet effective. So it may come for your exams because it has got deleted just recently. So time of supply of vouchers says the date of issue of vouchers if the supply is identifiable. But if the supply is not identifiable, then the date of redemption. Now I give you a voucher that you can buy only a shirt. It's a voucher for shirt only. So you'll buy only shirt. So goods is identifiable, GST rate is known. So when the goods supply is identifiable, then the date of issue of voucher itself, when you issue the voucher, that time itself you have to pay GST. But if I give you a voucher, you can buy anything from my showroom. Now, showroom has various goods which can be 5%, 12%, 18%. So in that case, if the supply is not identifiable, the time of supply will not be issue of the voucher. It will be when you redeem that voucher. Because at the time of redemption only, I'll get to know what is the product you are buying. Clear? Huh. Now, apart from goods, you may have to charge some extra charges. Say delay. IPL means interest payment and late fees. If you're charging any interest payment and late fees, then GST will be on receipt basis. You will charge late fees, but that person will not give. Can you pay GST on that? No. So if you're charging late fees, if you're charging interest for late payment, if you're charging any penalty, once that person pays, only then you have to pay the GST on it. So it is on receipt basis. Okay. So on this IPL, interest payment and late fees, GST is paid on receipt basis. Now come to time of supply of services. Any doubts till now on supply of goods? Because it was very simple. So we have just rushed in. And important point on supply of goods is on advance also you don't pay GST, but in services you will pay. But in case of goods, there is an exclusion through that notification number 66 of 2017. So once you raise the invoice, only then you pay the GST. Sure, no doubts, everything is clear. सेक्शन 31 को एक बार समझा दीजिए. ठीक है, सेक्शन 31 चले जाते हैं एक बार कि इनवॉइस कब रेज करना चाहिए. सेक्शन 31 ये बोलता है कि आपको इनवॉइस कब तक इशू रेज करना चाहिए. आपको कब इनवॉइस रेज करना चाहिए. वेयर द डेट ऑफ इशू ऑफ इनवॉइस, वेयर द सप्लाई इन्वॉल्व मूवमेंट ऑफ गुड्स. अगर सप्लाई में मूवमेंट ऑफ गुड्स इन्वॉल्व है तो रिमूवल ऑफ गुड्स या उसके पहले आपको इनवॉइस रेज कर देना चाहिए. दैट इज द फर्स्ट एस्पेक्ट. ओके, दैट इज सप्लाई इन्वॉल्विंग मूवमेंट ऑफ गुड्स. तो फिर रिमूवल ऑफ गुड्स में आपको इनवॉइस रेज करना है. वेयर इट इज अदर देन मूवमेंट, जैसे हमने लॉट ऑफ एग्जांपल दिया, फैन यहाँ पे है, मैंने बिल्डिंग खाली कर दिया, उसको मेरे भी बेचना है, या फिर मेरे गुड्स यहाँ पे है, मैं अपोर्शन कर रहा हूँ कस्टमर को. तो जब मैं अपोर्शन करता हूँ तब सप्लाई हो जाता है. गुड्स मूवमेंट नहीं हो रहा है लेकिन मैं ईयर मार्क कर देता हूँ. सो वेयर द डिलीवरी ऑफ द गुड्स आर मेकिंग द गुड्स अवेलेबल है. जब मैं गुड्स मेरे कस्टमर को अवेलेबल कर देता हूँ तब मुझे इनवॉइस रेज करना है, ये बोलता है सेक्शन 31। ठीक है, नाउ विल गो टू सप्लाई ऑफ सर्विसेज। सप्लाई ऑफ सर्विस क्या बोलता है? इफ द इनवॉइस इज इशूड विद इन 30 और 45 डेज। मतलब आप इनवॉइस क्या है, सप्लाई ऑफ गुड्स में आपका कुछ इवेंट है, मूवमेंट ऑफ गुड्स है, उसके पहले आपको रेज करना है। ठीक है, लेकिन सप्लाई ऑफ सर्विसेज में आपको जब सर्विस प्रोवाइड करते हैं उसके 30 डेज में आपको इनवॉइस रेज करना है। 30 डेज फॉर नॉर्मल कंपनीज, 45 डेज फॉर बैंकिंग कंपनीज। बैंकिंग के लिए एक्स्ट्रा दिया गया कि आप 45 डेज तक रेज कर सकते हो। सो इफ यू रेज द इनवॉइस ऑन टाइम, ओके, कि इनवॉइस आपने 30 डेज में रेज कर दिया है, देन द टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई इज इश्यू ऑफ इनवॉइस और रिसिप्ट ऑफ पेमेंट विच एवर इज अर्लियर। ठीक है, नॉर्मल अगर आप विद इन टाइम पे रेज कर देते हो, देन द टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई इज इश्यू ऑफ द इनवॉइस और रिसिप्ट ऑफ पेमेंट विच एवर इज अर्लियर। बट इन केस ऑफ इश्यू ऑफ इनवॉइस आफ्टर 30 डेज, अगर आपने इनवॉइस 30 डेज के बाद या बैंकिंग कंपनी ने 45 डेज के बाद रेज किया है, देन द टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई इज रिसिप्ट ऑफ पेमेंट और प्रोविजन ऑफ सर्विस विच एवर इज अर्लियर। इट विल नॉट गो बैक टू ड्यू डेट ऑफ इनवॉइस, विल गो बैक टू प्रोविजन ऑफ सर्विस, कि आपने जब इन सर्विस प्रोवाइड किया है वहां से रिसिप्ट ऑफ पेमेंट विच एवर इज अर्लियर। एंड व्हाट इज पेमेंट? पेमेंट को भी उन्होंने डिफाइन किया है कि पेमेंट इन द बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स और पेमेंट क्रेडिट इन द बैंक विच एवर इज अर्लियर। दैट इज द टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई फॉर सर्विसेस। This is fine. Continuous supply of services will be in case of continuous supply of services where the due date is ascertainable from the contract. अगर ड्यू डेट आप कॉन्ट्रैक्ट से असर्टेन कर सकते हो, if the due date is ascertainable from the contract, the invoice should be issued on or before the due date. In case due date is not ascertainable, but invoice should be issued before some time. जैसे मैं सीमेंट का मैंने एग्जांपल दिया था, वो गुड्स हो गया, बट फॉर सर्विसेज आई एम प्रोवाइडिंग सर्विसेज ऑन कंटिन्यूअस बेसिस, और मेरे टर्म्स बोलते हैं कि इट विल बी पेड, सपोज कंस्ट्रक्शन सर्विस है, ईच फ्लोर वाइज मैं बिल करूंगा। So as and when one floor is completed, I will raise an invoice. So that will become the first case where the date is ascertainable from the contract. तो invoice मुझे वो event के पहले raise करना है। Where the due date is not ascertainable contract, लेकिन payment मैंने fix कर दिया कि monthly monthly मुझे आपको payment करना ही है। So then the payment once and as and when the payment is received, I have to raise an invoice. And third is where the payment is linked to completion of an event, like construction event, each floor getting constructed, I will raise an invoice. That will become the third scenario. Okay, this is the time limit for issuance of invoice for services. Under reverse charge, I'll give you a table. Yeah, this will understand. RCM for goods is earliest of, sometimes you have to pay reverse charge on receipt of goods and sometimes receipt of services. For receipt of goods, the time limit says it either receipt of goods or the date of payment or 30 days from the issue of invoice by the supplier, whichever is earlier. But in case of services, you are not receiving any goods, so receipt of goods is not there. Date of payment or 60 days from the issue of invoice, whichever is earlier. But in case of associated enterprises, and if that associate enterprise is located outside India, date of recording the supply in the recipient books is the time of supply. You're all aware of this. That's why I'm just going through fast mode. Any doubts, you can please raise your question, raise your hands. So reverse charge, time of supply is receipt of goods or date of payment or 30 days from the issue of invoice. But in case of reverse charge of services, date of payment or 60 days from the date of invoice, whichever is earlier. Simple. That is the time of supply for goods and time of supply for services. Yeah, in both the cases, there is residual query wherein you're not able to identify what is the time of supply. Then the time of supply will be where a periodic return is to be filed. Then the due date of such return or the date on which tax is to be paid. And in case of addition in value, the date on which the supplier receives such addition in value that we have seen, no IPL, interest, penalty, late fees. The time of supply will be when you actually receive it. Okay. So let us know whether this is clear or no. Best way to determine that is through going through this multiple choice questions. Mrs. Positive Advisors has provided vouchers to its employees worth 5,000 on 29th October 2021 on the occasion of its 8th anniversary, which is on 20th October 2021. The voucher value can be used either for purchase of goods or purchase of services. So it can be for goods or services. Voucher can be redeemed anytime. Few of its employees redeemed the voucher on 26 June 2022. What is the time of supply? Yes, answers. One few answers, others. Lokesh is saying date of issue of voucher. Okay. But as on the date of issue of voucher, do you know the GST rate, Lokesh? You don't know, right? So that's where the time of supply can't be the date of issue of invoice. So it'll be when it is actually redeemed. So time of supply will be 26 June 2022, which is C. Which of the following is the time of supply in case of supply of goods where RCM is applicable? Kajal, are you sure? Yes, Lokesh. Yes, Miss Lokesh, your answer is right. Miss Kashish, please check again whether your answer is right. The answer is D. For reverse charge mechanism, date of receipt of the goods or date immediately following 30 days from the date of invoice or the date of payment, whichever is earlier. So the correct answer is D in case of reverse charge mechanism. Ms. Gomati provided professional services to Mr. Dinesh on 29th May. Invoice is issued on 28th June. Payment is received on 1st July. What is the time of supply? Date of issue of invoice. Mr. Lokesh, wrong. Parveen, wrong. Kajal, wrong. Somesh Singh, wrong. Kashish Bagri, right. Yes, Kavya, your answer is also right. Right. So, in case of services, it is date of issue of invoice or receipt of payment, whichever is earlier, right? But in this case, payment is received later on, so it can't be the payment. Date of issue of invoice. Issue of invoice is 28th June. It should be raised within 30 days from the date of provision of service. 29th May, right? We have 31 days. Okay. 29th May, 31 days ends on 28th June. If I would have issued 27th June, because 29th, 30th, 31st, we have We have in May 31 days. Okay. So 30 days ends on 27th June. So if it would have raised on 27 June, then the 27 June would have been the time of supply, but it is raised 1 day late. So time of supply goes back to the date of provision of service, which is 29th May. So the answer is 29th May. You're right, Mr. Reddy, date of invoice or date of receipt, but invoice should be issued on time. Clear? If the invoice is not issued on time, then the time provision goes back to date of provision of service. In provision of service completed on 29th May, so time of supply is 29th May. Yeah, question number 4. Option C, correct. Date of payment or date immediately following 60 days from the date of issue of invoice, whichever is earlier. Right. This is a very simple question. Simple question. Answer is C. Correct. Because we saw the previous question, so we know now it is very and simple answer here. This Yes, answer is C year because invoice is raised after 30 days. So 12 January 2025. Yeah, this is not a multiple choice question. You have to give the answer for this. No options. So there is no one time of supply. There is advance payment and then there is a balance payment. So there will be two time of supplies involved. Yeah. For advance payment, 3,000, what will be the time of supply firstly? 6th May. Okay. And for the balance, 12,000. Right. People have got the answer mostly correctly. Time of supply of services to the extent of 3,000 rupees, which is given in advance, is 6th May because date of payment or issue of invoice, whichever is earlier. For 3,000, we are clear. Now, for the other part, the time of supply of services to the extent of 12,000 is 15 September, which is the date of provision of service, as you have pointed out rightly, because the invoice is issued late. Question number 8. Right. So I'll just give the answer for this. Not very complicated, just a little bit. Here, July 4th will be the time of supply, being the earliest of the two stipulated dates because it is under reverse charge, right? either the date of payment or date immediately following 60 days from the date of issue of invoice. Issue of invoice happened on May 4th. June, July. 4th July will be the time of supply, not the May 4th. Correct, Lokesh. Toshish, you applied, but you could see that the question is on reverse charge. Okay. The next question. Last question for the day. Yeah. Others on last question. April 7th, April 19th. Okay. We read answers. You didn't understand the question, Kashish? Right. So if you see, there are various factors in it. Time of supply of services will be under reverse charges, date of payment, right? What is the date of payment here? Date of payment is 3rd November. 61 days from the date of issue of invoice, which is the 19th April. Okay. Feb, March, April. So 19th April. Date of payment comes subsequent to the 61st day from the date of issue of invoice. Therefore, 61st day from the supplier's invoice has to be taken as the time of supply. This fixes 19th April as the time of supply. This is under reverse charge. Correct, correct, Reddy. 19th April. 17th April may be correct, Ms. Kajal, but you have to consider that 17th February you'll have, it's a leap. It's a thing, no? 28 days in the February. That's the reason the calculation of 60 days comes as 19th April. Great, Lokesh. Good, you enjoyed this. Any more questions? We have some more time. Oh, already crossed the time, but yeah, if there's any questions on this, yeah, 5 and 12% in GTA. Mm, yeah, I'll just share that 5% and 12% on GTA. This is under time of supply. Yeah, Ram, screen is visible. Okay. So, a person liable to pay tax under GTA services where recipient is one of the specified recipients, right? One of those seven categories. Now, if you have to pay a reverse charge, there are two options. The registered GTA itself exercise the option, right? GTA is not always under reverse charge. If the GTA wants to pay, he can pay GST also himself. Now, he can pay either at 12% or 5%. He has two options. He can pay at 2%, 12%, or 5%. When will he pay 12%? When he wants to pay forward charge. That is, when he wants to pay, it will be always under forward charge. And person liable to pay GST is GTA or 5%. So when he will pay 12%, when he wants to claim the input tax credit, he will pay 12%. If he doesn't want to claim the input tax credit, he will pay 5%. Okay. Now, if he is registered and he wants to pay, if he is not registered, then we as a recipient, we will have to pay. We will always pay at 5% only. For us, that 12%, 5%, two options is not required. For us, it is as a recipient, we will always pay at 5% under reverse charge. And person liable to pay GST is the recipient. That is when we are liable to pay. When we will be liable? When the supplier is not registered. Okay. So only two things, registered or unregistered. Is GTA registered? Yes. Then he has two options, pay at 5% without any claiming of ITC or pay 12% by claiming ITC. Fine. When he wants to pay, two options. When we have to pay, that we are a recipient of GTA, we will have only one option to pay 5% under reverse charge. Okay. Any more doubts? Okay. So we'll see you in the next session.
संकेत जी। हेलो।
हाँ सर।
संकेत जी को सर। संकेत जी, बाइंडर स्टेशन। बाइंडर स्टेशन। क्या आया?